ଆଜି ହେଉଛି 3 ଡିସେମ୍ବର, ସମୟ ରାତି 11:45। Hello everyone. Today is 3rd December 2023. Time is 23:35 approximately. And I'll talk about a book that audiobook that is I'm listening on Audible. I've taken subscription few months back and I'm enjoying it actually a lot. The name of the book is Phantoms of the Mind. But I'd like to talk about a few more things before that. Okay, let me try to list the things that I will talk about. One is me going to do Vipassana. Maybe I think it's in the year 2019 December, and now it's 2023 November, December again. So it's about 3 years ago. Then I think this is in 2021 that I had to go to Mumbai for my job. It was for a brief period, but I had to go to Mumbai and stay there. And I happened to go to the Asiatic Society of India Library in Mumbai, near Church Gate Station. Uh, I was looking I just randomly went there. I tried to look for some Sanskrit books. One book I was curious about was Lilavati. I was trying to find books that I had never seen. I never thought I would find. I tried to find and I got Lilavati actually. On a day when there was the librarian who would show me the book was not there. On that day I stumbled upon a book. That book was, and almost accidentally, because I went to the library of course, but I had never done reading before that. Never gone to a library before that. The book was Shadows of the Mind by Roger Penrose. This is a smaller paperback copy. The book that I actually read was a hardback red color cover, and I enjoyed that much more. Let me read the title. Shadows of the Mind: A Search for the Missing Signs of Consciousness by Roger Penrose. I did not know who he was, but as I started reading, I read much more than I expected I could read at once. That hooked onto my mind, and then I started thinking. After reading this book, I started thinking in this line that what is the brain, where the mind is, and how and about neural connections basically, because uh, in this book Roger Penrose tries to analyze, and it is here that I actually understand why the term that is popular nowadays, that is artificial intelligence, why that exists at all. So here he analyzes the different arguments and different opinions that are there about what the mind is. Is it a modular thing that exists inside the brain, and different parts of the brains are different modules? Does is it completely mechanized? Is it just a result of chemical processes? So if we replicate those chemical processes or those machine like activities, can we simulate a mind itself, and can we simulate consciousness, and what is consciousness itself? I mentioned Vipassana, which happened 3 years before this, which had nothing to do with this. But in Vipassana, since you get to meditate about 8 to 10 hours each day, and it is advised that you don't do any exercise, and the food intake is also just enough to support you to meditate and not do any physical activity. You are able to, within the settings of the ashram where it happens, you are able to isolate yourself enough that uh, you can think about your body from your mind's perspective. And because you close your eyes while you meditate, a big stimuli is gone. Because you isolate your movement, you sit in one place and you keep sitting there for 10 days. Nothing changes in terms of touch, or in terms of temperature, in terms of most other senses. There is only, since it's a guided process, there is something you hear when the guided meditation video or audio is played, but mostly you get to isolate. So that way, I could, with the help of my mind, it's a way of navigating through your body while your eyes are closed. So I could navigate to the tips, the joints, different parts of my body that I might not have seen personally or might not have touched, but I could access them through my mind. And I also faced a few challenges that I did not know were real challenges actually. In the guided meditation, the person who teaches, Mr. S.N. Goenka, he says that the mind would challenge you, but the mind is within you. Something in this line. So you can control it. So he says that each time you will try to bring back the focus of the mind to one place, it will keep running, and you have to keep bringing it back. Each time it does that, it's a fight, not a fight, a play between you and your mind. So that happens, and when you are doing it for the first time, you realize how the game is actually, what is the nature of the game. And the nature of the game is, so you you will try to bring your attention to your nose region. You will breathe, obviously, but there is no forced breathing, and your focus has to be in this breathing. This breathing of yours kind of serves as a clock. There is to and fro, the inhalation and the exhalation, and the two stops between them. So there is a 4-point clock, and you have to keep your attention in this region only for the initial part of the meditation. And when you try to do that, your mind keeps going here, there, not only in your body, but in your mind, anywhere. You could have random thoughts, or you could have sensations in your body that will distract you from doing that. Keeping the mind part aside, keeping the different thoughts that you get aside, we'll focus on how your body or bodily sensation distracts your mind from keeping your focus during Vipassana. This happens that any sensation that probably your mind thinks can distract you starts emerging. And here I would like to think of myself and my mind as two players in this game of chess, or for that matter martial art, judo, taekwondo, whatever, where we are trying to gain one points against each other, or with just trying to get an ippon or a knockout out of each other. If he can't get a knockout, at least get the points. So the process is, assuming my mind is another person, my mind tries to distract me with different techniques. The techniques would be itching. Of course, I laugh about it. I did laugh about it at some point while thinking it to myself, but itching is a great distraction tool. Second is pain in your muscles, pain in your joints. Uh, Third is twitching of muscles is different from itching and pain, but it is a very good distractor. For example, while you are meditating, if your eyelids start twitching, your mind is easily distracted. It's very easy for something to be distracted from here to here. It's easy either way. If it itches in your foot, and you don't pay your attention there, or worst case, you pay attention there, you take your attention there, and then you try to come back, the mind or the body tries to keep you there, so the itching sensation grows and grows and grows. And we are not generally used to this kind of heightened itching sensation, because whenever we feel itching normally, we just itch, right? We just scratch the surface. But what happens if you don't do that? What happens if you force yourself with your mind, or for that matter, due to some physical circumstances, maybe your hands are tied, or you have lost your arms or your fingers and you can't do it, what happens then? So the itching keeps growing and keeps growing and keeps growing until you learn how to not try to ignore it, but try to focus on something else. Ignoring something is still paying attention to it, at least in my observation during Vipassana. While paying attention to something else uh, is not taking this into account at all. That is an actually higher level of ignoring. Ignoring is having something within the circle of focus but not focusing on it. Having something on the frame of the camera but not focusing on it. Whereas paying attention to something else, which is paying attention to your breathing and breathing only, is like not pointing the camera at the itching point, on the itchy point, which is a completely different thing. Now we are not trying to blur it in the background of the image so that we can focus on something else. It's not at all there in the image. So the focus is completely on the breathing. But it's easier to say, but when you are doing meditation and you are going to sit for 1 hour, maybe it is your third or fourth day and you are going to sit for 1 hour without moving at all, and the itching starts at 15-minute count. Your mind knows there are 45 more minutes. Yeah, so the sensation itself keeps growing and your mind keeps telling you that there are 45 more minutes. Do you think if it keeps growing you can resist for 45 minutes? And a simple, almost idiotic tactic of itching that your mind plays with you sometimes kind of distracts you. And now let me talk in the same line about pain. You're just sitting, you're not exerting any force on yourself. You're sitting on a comfortable padded cushion. If you're more you can't sit, then you might as well get a chair and you can lean back, and that also is padded with cushions. So there is no pain per se that you are going to feel due to some physical job that you're doing. All you're doing is sitting and focusing on your breathing. So what happens when it pains during Vipassana? Same, just like itching, the pain starts there, and if you have made the mistake of taking your mind there, then the pain starts growing and growing and growing, and you know how long you are going to sit over there. So the mind plays the tactic. The mind with you plays the tactic. If you are going to tolerate, we know how much time you will have to tolerate. So the focus and blur technique doesn't work. Again, completely removing it, completely eradicating it from the frame works. And twitching. I'm not going to talk about twitching because the topic today is not. Those things are something I did in the past. I'm not too jumpy and excited to talk about them today. Today I'm recording because I was hearing this book, the book by Dr. V.S. Ramachandran. It's called Phantoms of the Mind. There are two books that I am reading recently, and this was in 2021. Vipassana was in 2019. Now it's 2023, and there are two books. The Divided Mind by John E. Sarno. I watched quite a lot of video by about John E. Sarno's research of psycho-symptomatic pain, and this book of V.S. Ramachandran about phantom limbs. Psychosymptomatic pain is about the pain that you feel. The layman way of saying it is, it's a pain that is in your mind, that's not really there, but it's generated by your mind. But Dr. John E. Sarno, I hope he's a doctor, he goes in depth about it because he has done experiments with some patients who visit him. I guess he's a neurologist of some sort, and he has experience with some patients, and he tries to explain in some way how a particular situation or uh, a, a condition that your mind create your mind how a particular bodily ailment or pain or chronic pain like situation is created by your mind, and you feel very seriously that pain in your body, but nothing is seen when it is when tests are done, because the tests are done to check physical issues like maybe bone fractures or muscle ruptures. Nothing of that sort is discovered physically on by general physicians who do these tests. But these patients keep complaining, and doctor or physician keep prescribing them the standard medicine or standard procedure, and it doesn't work for them. Dr. John E. Sarno probably has a method where he tries to talk to these patients about how these things are in their mind and how they can, how he, with his talks and his methods, helps these patients recover from it. And recently, another incident in the timeline. In November this year, just a week back, while returning from Badami, Karnataka, from my rock climbing trip that I went with my friends, uh, I was talking about how my life until now, or at least in the last 3 to 4 years, has been all about my right knee. Mm, Somewhere in 2021, early 2021, or 2020, or maybe 2020, late 2020, early 2021, my knee developed a pain. I went, initially, I ignored it as usual, as we do here. And then it kept growing. And all I did was, I stopped the exercises that I used to do because anyway I could not do. A few months before this pain started, I could easily run 10 kilometers. I had won bronze medal in a marathon. A small group did that marathon, but I did win the bronze medal. So I knew how to run. I could run marathons. Not, it's not like I suddenly exerted some force and I did not know how to run, and that's why this happened. And it was also not seasonal. The pain started almost randomly on a day around which any I had not done any heavy physical activity 1 or 2 months plus minus that date. But the pain started, and it started in the ankle, and then it came to the knee, or maybe it started in the knee, went to the ankle. But it started like any other normal day, normal sprain or strain would feel like. So I ignored it, and then it kept growing and growing and growing, and the activities that I used to do, I love to do, uh, kept going out, because at that point of time in my mind I had this thought that I'm not going to injure myself. And I thought had sunk in that my body has stopped growing now, because the growth age had happened. I guess I was 20 something, was 23, 24, and I told myself that my body is not going to grow anymore. So now it's the injury phase. Injuries are going to come. I'm an adult now. So this is something on that line, and if I be careful, don't injure myself, don't let the injury grow, then I'll be all right. But even if I reduced my activity, the same thing happened the pain continued, the pain grew, and the pain grew too much. And maybe after 3, 4, 6 months of not doing anything, I started doing something or the other. Because by not doing anything, my legs were probably shrinking. I was getting weaker even to walk. Oh, uh, remember around 7, 8 months ago I could run marathons, and now I am not able to walk because I am not doing any activity. So it's understandable that that would happen. But when I started doing this, uh, while doing, maybe I could do it because of initial muscle memory. I could run at least 1 or 2 kilometers. But if I did it regularly, then the pain would uh, start start growing. And not only it started growing, it started staying for longer. For example, I did not run every day like I used to do earlier. I ran once or twice a week, and the pain would stay for 3 days after I did my running. So I guess I told myself that because I had stopped doing any exercise, that is why the pain stays for so long. So if I just continue, be stubborn, just continue, then the pain will go away, which used to happen earlier. But this did not happen. And later, as I continue to do little bit of physical activities, which we normally do, like basic stretching, squats, whatever we generally do, uh, the pain started staying for longer. 3 days became 4, 4 became 5, and since I used to do this on a weekly uh, period, now imagine if the pain stayed for 7 days, and on the 7th day I went to run with the pain from last week's run. Then the pain just added up, and now it was not a discrete pain that was happening periodically and going down. It was a continuous pain, and the pain stayed and stayed and stayed. So I could not do anything. And now, snap back. I went to Badami for rock climbing. How could I do that? Somehow I try different techniques, different things to do, and I happened to stumble upon rock climbing. And somehow, after this many years, and 3 to 4 years, after this much time, and after trying rock climbing, I realized that somehow I can balance myself in rock climbing in such ways that it doesn't hurt the knee that much. Before that, I was talking about the train trip from Badami rock climbing. There, two of my the people who accompanied me for the rock climbing, two of my friends, happened to get a seat close to where I was, so I could talk to them that day. I hadn't talked to any one of them a lot, but that day I just opened up and spilled everything. And what I was saying to them that day was how my life has become everything about my knee now. It's as if my knee, my right knee, is the main character of the story, and I am a supporter of this knee. I'm helping this knee exist and get healthier. But it's not really about me trying to focus on the knee. It's the knee who is trying to, who has uh, it's the story of the knee, and I'm just there somewhere in the side. uh, and I was telling them how the pain started and how I started reading on the internet about it, and then how I discovered Wim Hof, and how I could not have done those ice baths where I was in Bhubaneswar, Odisha, because it's very hot. So I went to Rishikesh where there is Ganga Nadi, and I stayed there for some time. I used to take a dip in Ganga Nadi, and how after doing all kinds of experiments at my home, uh, kneecap and ice packing, going to physiotherapy, uh, nothing really worked for me. Not to blame physiotherapy and the doctors who advised me, not to blame the MRI scans that showed partial MCL and ACL tear, and not to blame the doctor who said that you don't need a surgery, you're fit and you can manage to do it with physiotherapy. It did not work for me for some reason. And while in the train, I was also talking about how I feel much colder on the right side of my body compared to the left side, and hence whenever I do warm up for some activity, the right side of me cools down faster than the left. So even if I do equal warm up, somehow my right is much colder while I'm doing the activity, or if I stop for a while, my right immediately gets colder, and a colder limb is much more prone to get injured. So in my mind, that's a pointer that is stuck on the board, that since my right leg gets colder easily, it gets injured easily, and hence the ankle, the knee, and the whole right leg itself is a bit compromised, it's a bit imbalanced. Now, while I went to Ganga Nadi in Rishikesh, what happened was, and I also was discussing this with my, not discussing, I was just spilling all my thoughts there, and probably some of the thoughts were not audible to them because of the train noise, but I spilled. I told them that while ice packing and physiotherapy did not work, going and taking a dip, sitting there 10 minutes in the cold Ganga Nadi water, that's a glacial river in India, the rest of the muscles also contracted almost as much as the right leg's muscle. And then when I came out, they expanded, the blood flow happened. And that somehow balanced the blood flow in the whole leg and the whole body. And after that, I felt much more comfortable. And when I did this uh, each alternative day, I started feeling much better. I could run, I could do, and when I moved out of the river, I did some basic exercises to warm up my body. So that did great for my cold. I used to get cold, and my ear used to hurt because of cold. I used to kind of feel like there is a lot of cough stored in my face as uh, I don't know. It happens, and I also got sinus. So I guess it's a common occurrence with people with sinus. But I think I did not really have sinus, but I had the larger description is that I just feel more cold on the right side of my body. And currently, the star of the right side cold body is my knee, and hence I'm doing everything that I can because of my knee. Let me check if it is recording or not. So the star of my cold right body is my knee, and then I spilled, and now I'm recording this video. Why am I recording? And what are these two books, or mainly this one book, Phantoms of the Mind, that I'm excited about? I have read The Divided Mind by John E. Sarno, about half of it. This is an audiobook, so I've heard it half, and I'm in chapter 5, so it's about 1/4 on the, not chapter 5, chapter 3, beginning of chapter 3 in Dr. V.S. Ramachandran's book, Phantoms of the Mind. Phantoms of the Mind is about, while John E. Sarno's book, The Divided Mind, is more about how mind creates uh, these ailments where you have faced a little some degree of stress, you have been stressed, you have been traumatized in your mind, and that trauma manifests itself as a physical pain, a form of chronic pain, which uh, which he says that people who are really fit one day on the next day they could not move. And mm, I I happened to stumble upon this term, psychosymptomatic pain, from the YouTube page Two Set Violin, where I guess Brett, the one violinist from that YouTube page, uh, e- explained about how he could not walk. Like, he was a fit and fine person, but how he could not walk. He was on wheelchair for 2 to 3 months. Um, he started feeling pain a few months before a concert that he was preparing for. Then he was on crutches. Crutches, I think, is not wheelchair. He was on crutches and he could not walk. He was dragging his foot and he was dragging his arm, and and so the and on but luckily someone he met some doctor, some neurologist, who explained to him about how this was probably in his mind, and he just had to overcome this mental barrier. And then on the next day, or the next week, uh, he could suddenly walk. Someone who had been on crutches, totally dependent on crutches for 2 to 3 months, started walking suddenly. So it started ringing a bell in my mind, because I feel this pain in the back of my in my back shoulder, right side again, and my I feel cold in my extremities, mainly in my right toes, the fingers, uh, and and in general the right side. Even in my I feel my right ear is a lot colder compared to my uh, left ear. And in my mind I keep telling myself maybe the blood flow is lower to the right side of my body, but it seems almost impossible, because if it's going to my right ear, then it must go to my left ear, because they are the pressure, uh, the blood pressure that will be essential to send blood to here will be same for here. Similarly for the legs, if it's sending to my right, I don't think my brain would discriminate, or my blood circulation system, what is it called, the heart and veins and nerve system, is going to discriminate on my right side. It's kind of impossible. It could be that it does for one limb, but I feel it on the whole right side of my body. So this mind's game of doing this kind of again got hooked onto my mind again, and I started searching on the line of those terms, psychosymptomatic pain. I discovered John E. Sarno videos and people talking about him, and then I happened to stumble upon the Audible app that I had, and the subscription was going on, and I did not know what the credit system was on that app. And the credits I had earned from having the subscription for 3 to 4 months, and the money was getting debited from my account. I was aware, but I did not care much about it, because I am not a reader for that matter. I have started listening a few books right now though. Now that mind game uh, kind of stood in front of my face now, and I wanted to know more about it. And I had also talked to one of my friend about this before, that if this pain that I feel in my knees and my shoulder, and the stiffness that I feel, if it really is generated by the mind, then I will not be able to believe it. So I would like to admit here that despite thinking and hearing from some people that I should check on a neurologist, actually my where I went for physiotherapy, I was at some people, some doctors advised me there that I should see some neurologist, and they did tell me a name, but that person was in another city, so I decided to ignore it. And until now, I have not done. So let's see if I will go to a neurologist and talk about this. So now. Ha. If indeed this pain is in my mind, then I would be interested to know. Now, let me go away from the divided mind, Dr. Johnny Sarno, and go to Dr. V.S. Ramachandran. I accidentally discovered Dr. V.S. Ramachandran. Accidental in the sense that uh, it was more in the context of politics. I was watching a video by Mr. Rajiv Malhotra where he talked to Dr. V.S. Ramachandran about how the mind and about something related to the mind. Okay, let's just ignore that. And Rajiv Malhotra is more on the political side of things, and V.S. Ramachandran just, I guess, happened to be with Rajiv Malhotra. He did a fantastic interview, but it was about how sounds could possibly have a place in your brain and how they could trigger something in your brain. And in the line of if Vedic hymns and mantras that that are used to pray Hindu gods and goddesses, devis and devatas, do they do something to your mind, or in general, does the accurate pronunciation of mantras do something to your mind or your brain? And why did he invite Dr. V.S. Ramachandran there? Because he is a neurologist uh, whose area of study is suitable to have this discussion, because uh, he, I guess, has done some studies on patients who have had who lost a function of the brain, maybe due to a stroke, maybe due to some incident that the patient had suffered, and due to that loss of sensation, uh, that was physically manifested. For example, paralysis of a hand, uh, or for that matter, what this book is about phantom limbs, how a particular part of the brain uh, is connected to a particular action or to a particular part of the body, or in those lines. So he is the right person.